Chapter 7. Billy's Story. Dad and Tony's Fight. There were only 2 weeks until the audition and we worked hard. Miss told me to find something personal for my dance. I took my mom's letter and a music cassette that she liked. I met Miss at the club on Monday. She picked up Mom's letter and read it. At the end, she was crying. "She was a very special woman, Billy," she said. "No, she was just my mom," I said. She asked me questions about Mom. What made her happy? What made her sad? Mom liked music, I said. She played the piano. I put the cassette on and played the loud, fast music. "Did your mom like this song?" Miss asked. "Then this is the music for our dance." We had fun. We jumped and ran around in circles. We were laughing and playing and dancing. "Dance for your mom, Billy," Miss said. "At the end, do the biggest, fastest, highest spin. Imagine that she is watching you." Miss is clever. It worked. I thought about Mom and I danced. Things were bad at home. The town was full of police and miners from other towns. "We are going to destroy the government," Tony said. But we had no money. People broke up their furniture and burned it on the fire. We didn't have much food. I was getting tired of eating bread. They were keeping us hungry. The government used the police to frighten us. The police on horseback were the worst. The horses were so big, and the policemen carried long sticks. They rode up behind the pickets and hit them on their backs and heads. There was blood then. I saw it with my own eyes. Tony and I were both arguing with Dad. I was angry because I couldn't dance. Tony was angry because Dad was weak. He was always shouting at him. I felt sorry for Dad, but Tony was right. Dad was a silly old man, and he couldn't move out of the past. A week before the audition, I woke up in the middle of the night. Tony was getting out of bed. "What are you doing? What time is it?" I asked. "Be quiet," he told me. "Go back to sleep." I looked at the clock. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. He walked quietly out of the bedroom. A few minutes later, the shouting started downstairs. I got up to have a look. Dad was standing in front of the back door. Tony was in front of him, white as a sheet. He had a big hammer in his hand. "Get out of my way! Open the door!" Tony said. He was very angry. "Put the hammer down!" "Get out of my way!" Tony suddenly ran up to Dad and waved the hammer. Is he going to hit him? I thought. "No!" I shouted, but they didn't even look at me. "You don't want to fight," Tony shouted. "That's your problem. You're finished, aren't you? Mom died, and now you're a stupid old man. Get out of my way." He tried to push Dad away from the door, but Dad suddenly hit Tony on the side of the face. Tony fell down onto the floor. "Stop it! Stop it!" I screamed. Dad looked at me. His face was white, and his eyes were wet with tears. "What are you looking at?" he shouted. He was very angry, and I was frightened. Tony stood up. He pushed Dad away and ran out of the door. "You're not trying, Billy. Do it again." Miss was shouting at me. I was dancing but thinking about Dad and Tony. "I can't." "Do it again. Do it again. Now." Her face was close to mine. "No." "What?" She stepped back. "What did you say?" "No," I said again. I hated her because she was shouting at me. I ran into the changing room. She thought ballet was so important, but it wasn't. I thought about the fight again. That hammer. Tony almost hit my dad with a hammer. And Dad hitting Tony in the face. I wanted my mom. She could stop Dad and Tony fighting, I thought. When she died, everything went wrong. The door to the changing room opened. "Billy, I know you are here," Miss said. "I am sorry." "Sorry," she says. "What good is that? I'm finished with her. I jumped out at her. It's okay for you. You're not going to the audition." "I know," she said. She looked frightened. I was bigger than her. "You don't know anything," I said. "You want me to dance. Why? Because people think you are a good teacher. You don't have a real dancing school, just a group of children in this old hall. You shout at me because your life is no good." She hit me hard across the face. It hurt, and I was surprised. I put my hand up to my face. Then she held her arms out to me. "Billy, laugh," she said. I wanted to run out of the door, but I wanted to dance too. It was the best thing in my life. I couldn't leave. I started to cry. Miss took another step towards me, and I put my head on her shoulder. "I am sorry, Billy," she said. I cried and cried for about 5 minutes. "Okay," she said. "Have you finished crying?" "Yes, miss, sorry," I said. She pushed up my hat and dried my tears on my t-shirt. "Good boy," she said. "We'll start dancing again. Do you know something? She never asked, 'Why are you crying?' Dancing was the one good thing in my life. I wasn't clever or popular at school, but I could dance. The audition was getting closer, and I was nervous. What will I do if I get into ballet school? I thought. Dad will kill me. She won't give me permission to live in London. What's ballet school going to cost? But I won't get in, so Dad won't know about the audition. "I won't get in," I said to Miss. "Yes, you will, Billy Elliot. You'll be the best dancer at the audition." Who can I talk to? I thought. I miss my mom, but she's not here. She is dead. She can't hear anything, and she can't tell me anything. Then something happened. On the Thursday before the audition, Miss and I couldn't use the hall. We drove to a school and used its hall. On the way home in the car, I played a music cassette. The music wasn't modern, but I like it. It was beautiful. "It's good, isn't it?" I said. "What is it?" "I've heard it before." "It's ballet music," Miss said. "Now get out of the car. It's time for you to go home." It was dark and cold in the house. There was no more coal to make a fire. Dad and Tony were out. Nan was in, and I went into her room and said hello to her. She didn't know me. It was one of her bad days. I went back into the kitchen and took some milk out of the fridge. "Hello, son." I turned around. It was Mom. She was drying a dish with a cloth. "What have I told you, Billy?" she said. "Don't drink out of the milk bottle." "Sorry, Mom," I said. I took a glass and poured some milk into it. Then I put the bottle on top of the fridge. "Put the bottle inside the fridge," she said. I picked up the bottle and opened the fridge door. Then I thought, that was Mom. She was here. The dish and the cloth were on the table. I touched them and they were warm. Her hands touched them, I thought. I wasn't frightened. The door opened and Nan came in. She walked to the cupboard. "It's in here," she said. "What is, Nan?" "The record." She took a record out of the cupboard. She went into the sitting room and put the record on the record player. "Listen," she said. The music started. It's the same music, I thought. The music from Mrs. Carr. That's why I knew it. It was one of Mom's old records. "Did you see her too, Nan?" I asked. But Nan was dancing around the room. I held her arms and we did some ballet moves together. She was slow, but she was good. Then the door opened quickly. Tony was standing there with Dad behind him. "You're using my record player," Tony said. "It's not yours, it's Mom's," I shouted. Tony went to the record player and turned it off. "Be careful," Dad shouted at Tony. "Don't break the record." He took it away from Tony and cleaned it carefully. Then he turned to me. "Who told you to play this?" "Sorry," I whispered. Dad walked out of the room and shut the door noisily. Dad and Tony are always making a noise in the house. I hate it. But it wasn't important. You see, now I understood. Mom wanted me to dance in the audition. It wasn't a stupid dream. Maybe I will get into the ballet school, I thought. The audition was on Saturday at 10:30. I wanted to succeed, for me and for Mom. On Friday, I went for the final practice and danced perfectly. Nobody can stop me, I thought. Then the trouble started.